Welcome to another episode of The Bastard Sermon. I'm one of your three hosts, Cody Hucker.
Luke Young.
Andrew
Lloyd
Riddick.
Johnson. Lloyd Johnson's his name. And our guest this week is Gabe motherfucking Gia. He's a local Cincinnati comedian. Everyone give it up for him, please.
Hey, thanks for giving it up for me.
Thanks for coming out, man.
That's what I say when I introduce someone. I'm like, give it up for them. And they're like, that's kind of hacky.
Gabe, you're hilarious. I've seen you record your special.
I know you drove John Holmes. Thank you for doing that. That's a big I don't know if you know the Cincinnati area scene, but that's a big service that you're doing
John
right
Holmes.
there. You just saved two people's lives by
wait.
driving.
John's in a car accident
Holmes.
every other week. I swear to God. I'm like, how you doing, John? He's like, I just got into another car accident. I'm like, how does it keep happening to you?
I don't know. I black out sometimes.
It was.
My brain works weird.
I did him a favor, but it was
It's like
his
if I
wife
take
who
like
did us all a
15 to
favor.
18 shots, I forget shit. I don't know.
I'm saying this, but I honestly got into a car accident Monday morning. I just got into a car accident recently, and I was not drunk, but it was early, so I'm lucky I wasn't in my
Hungover.
pajamas. Hungover? Yeah, I mean, that's a given. But no, they don't. It was so early that didn't even come into the conversation. And I also have a medical marijuana card, and someone was like, "Did they know when they pulled you over?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you think the police are doing so much better than they are? Like, like the moment you get pulled over, you have your minority report comes up of like everything you've done in the past, and they're like flipping through. All right, we've got the profile on this guy. No, they have no clue. But
Do you ever, when you're driving your kids to school, do you ever forget that they're in the backseat and just get road rage and call somebody a cunt, and then you realize your daughter's just sitting back there ready to go to first grade? That happened to me this morning.
yeah,
I was like, oh no, I hate that I'm this human being right now.
I'm thankful that doesn't happen to me. I know she's always there.
You were on one
Watching
this
like
morning.
a secret shopper for my driving.
My
But no,
Gabe basically was like, no, I'm a good dad.
Well, for context, my son woke me up 12 times last night. I've slept 1 hour today, so I'm like all lackadaisical and shit, and I'm like not having a good time, and I gotta drive 30 minutes one way to go to her school because of where baby mama lives, and it was like I just kept dealing with bullshit situation after bullshit situation of people just like, well, yeah, I'm gonna let 3 cars go out of this speedway, even though the light's green 1 foot in front of me, and I'm just gonna let them pass on through. I'm like, you fucking cunt! And then I turn around and I'm like, oh, bad dad.
yeah,
Oh,
no, I've been there where you say something, or my daughter will always say, "Daddy, stop talking to yourself," because I'm like telling myself something that I'm like, oh, that's funny, and I could do that, and she's like, she thinks I'm like crazy because I'm writing over here. Get out of my head.
I got it to this point where I'm like, my daughter knows the rule. I'm like, Ari, what's the rule? And she's like, don't repeat anything Daddy says. I was like, good girl. It's like anything I say does not fly. You can't repeat Daddy.
She doesn't look like scared when she says that to you. They're like, Daddy.
No.
Neither is my daughter.
Stop talking to yourself.
Stop talking to yourself. No, she just knows but she knows it's weird.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not
Daddy,
normal
there's no-
daddy stuff.
Daddy, there's no shadow people. I promise.
I used to catch my mom when I was younger. Like I would walk into the kitchen or the living room from my bedroom, and she would be mid conversation with herself. Like deep conversation, like rolling her eyes, tossing her head, like with
I love
emotion
that.
and everying. Like
That's awesome.
lost,
Strangling a
into
cat,
it.
normal shit.
Lost. I think she's focused. She knows exactly. She's practicing for what's gonna come in the next day or something. She's got an interaction. She's like practicing for it. She's like, I'm gonna say this, and then they're gonna say this. She's like just practicing.
You also described your dad's dick like a telephone pole, so I can't. I mean, I imagine that level of getting dick down has got to just lead you to some level of psychosis that we can't comprehend. All right,
Just broke something loose.
that's cervix for sure. Has your mom ever had to get her cervix sewed back together after your dad was? Okay, is this too much talking about your
I
mom?
guess.
I'm sorry. Has she though?
When your
Has she
dad
ever-
was working for the utility company.
No, that's when he was in jail. Did they ever tell
He's
you
still
shit
getting
like
paid
that?
by the union. What?
Did they ever tell you bullshit when he was in jail? Like, oh, dad's at fucking
No,
camp.
they never touched on his prison stories. He still hasn't.
No, I mean, did they tell you lies about like he's in prison? Obviously.
Oh, like
but-
why he's gone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they used to.
He's
yeah.
out west. That's what they're always just saying direction. They're
Well,
like, oh, he's up north. Like they
It
just
used
make
to
it
be-
big.
It used to be what the truth is now, which is he left for a job.
Oh yeah. That's
Because he's a foreman for like construction sites, so or not a foreman. He's an inspector for construction sites. So like he goes there and he with a clipboard and he basically tells everyone everything wrong that they're doing. He's like a paid asshole. Everyone hates him, and so he gets paid a lot of money to do that. But he gets paid like freelance, not by a specific union, but by many. So he'll get like paid to go. Like he spent all of 2016 in like Australia. You know what I mean? He told yeah, but he does stuff like that.
In Australia, they're still lying to you, man.
Well, no,
In Australia?
he did
No,
lie
come
to
on.
us. He told us he was going to Egypt once, and my mom was like, "Send me a picture of the pyramids," and he was like, "Yeah, I'm in Iraq."
Just send her a
He's like,
picture
"Yeah,
of
we got
camel shit.
armed vehicle security everywhere. I only have my cell phone when I'm in my room or at work." And
He's like, I'm
I
doing
would have said Iraq if we invaded Egypt. So I guess that's the bright side.
I'm doing a job for this new company. They're called the Tolo Bond. That's just helping the Taliban build fucking tank warehouses and shit. Just, yep.
I'm still like on the fence since a friend said it in high school. Like, I don't know if that's his real job or not. You know what I mean? If he's like pushing drugs or selling weapons, like this man has got a wild life.
I love that we all have like.
He once big dick bragged to me once. Like I got like my first job, right? I did like my first week of overtime, and I worked like a Saturday, and I was like, "Oh, Dad, I got like $580 this paycheck," and he was like, "I got $1,200 in 4 days." I was like, "Fucking sick!" I'm like, okay, what does that do for me? Are you gonna like float me something? Like, what's going on here?
You hurt his manhood.
Yeah, I guess
He's like, nah, bitch, I'm the man of the house.
He was in Missouri. Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
that's an average headline.
No, he said
weekend.
misery. He said misery.
Not that good.
Misery.
Not that good of money.
I like that we all have sketchy blue collar dads. Me, Luke, and Lloyd. How is your dad? Is he a sketchy blue collar guy
Canadian.
that's doing the break-in OSHA violations on the regular? Like, is he one of these guys?
No, my dad, he also had a job that he went off to and hurt people, and we didn't know about it. My dad,
What do you
Your dad's
mean?
badass.
my dad was a
Oh, you mean you have a super cool dad? Is
professional hockey player. He played in the NHL, so he was a
What?
he was a fighter before like back in the 70s when fighting was like they're like, oh, they do it hockey is fight. So he honestly so he did have a pretty cool job. And growing up, honestly, I was kind of thinking about why I'm in Cincinnati. Why am I in Cincinnati? It's because I'm in a hockey desert right here. Like no one knows about hockey here, so nobody knows who my dad is. Nobody cares about hockey at all. So
Did your dad do that on purpose?
yeah, beat him up or just
No, I mean like
hockey?
go to a place where he couldn't easily be identified.
No, my dad didn't do that. I mean, my dad was always easily identified. He was he was like,
Was he a Ducks?
he was no, he wasn't a Ducks. He was a Blues. He was a Blues. But the cool
Who's your dad? Let's Google him while you talk about
That
it.
is the most Canadian answer.
My dad, his name's Ed Kia, and he's got the shortest name in National Hockey League history. And he looks just like me.
Is that right here?
You're gonna look
Five-
you're gonna
five
pick him up and
motherfucking
oh
letters.
yeah, that looks like me. So he played for the Atlanta Flames and the St. Louis Blues, and he is
It says his name's Adrian. Adrian Joseph.
Adrian Joseph Kia,
So wait, He's from
Dutch-born
the
hockey
Netherlands. Okay.
player.
All right.
Yeah, he's born in the Netherlands, and his real name is Adrian, but Ed was like his like nickname. Hey, look, my headshot comes up on the third line. I'm moving up there. Soon I will take over.
Son of former.
Yeah,
Soon I'll be the only Kia.
I'll be the only Kia on the rink. No,
Dude, that's awesome.
but no, it is really cool. I don't talk about him too often. I don't talk about him in my stand-up enough. I want to talk about him more. He was an undrafted player that literally fought his way into the NHL. Like, he got into a big fight, and my mom told me, she's like, we could tell that night, oh, there was something different in the arena, you know? Something was going on. And then the next day, he got a call from Atlanta. He got called up. So he got called up to the majors because someone saw him get into a fight. And
It
then
sounds like that's how someone gets like moves up in the boxing league, not hockey. It's like someone saw his fight, and now he's getting signed to the NHL.
And that's like kind of like wrestling was back in the early 80s. It was like this like garage sort of thing, like local. But he played in Tulsa, and my my mom told me this story about how when he got called up, they flew him to Atlanta to play in Atlanta, and then she had she had to drive, or no, she was like, they didn't fly me out there. She's still like mad about that, like years later. But anyway, he ended up driving. He went back down to the apartment, gathered up all their stuff, drove their car like all the way up to Toronto, and he picked up a hitchhiker. My mom's like, oh, he picked up a hitchhiker, and he drove him up to his house in Chicago. And my dad was just like that type of guy too, where he'd like pick up a hitchhiker. But so I want to tell this story about I always thought my dad was like kind of like a defensive defenseman. He wasn't drafted. He wasn't a good player. He was just kind of made it into the NHL. And then one time I met the Hansen brothers, the guys from Slapshot. They were at a game in St. Louis, and they came up to the alumni box after the game. And they were like, oh, my God, you're Ed Kia's son? This guy's a legend. And they were telling me all about my dad and how he's a good fighter back in the Eastern Hockey League before the NHL, man. This guy was like a real deal. And the Hansen brothers are like actors from this movie, but they actually were hockey players from this. It's called the ECHL, is the early Eastern Hockey League. Okay. My dad played for the Jersey Devils, which was like now the New Jersey Devils was named after that team. But it was so funny that I always thought my dad was like, nah, not so great, or he just kind of barely made it. And then all of a sudden these fictional characters came along and told me, they're like, no, your dad's the real deal, man. They're like, no, he's a real fighter. He's like, can kick some ass. You should watch videos of your dad. He kicked everybody's ass. And
like the Mighty Ducks actually rolled up on you.
Yeah. Emilio Estevez is like, your dad drove me home drunk one night, man. It was like a prequel. It's like a prequel. But that's a true story of me, and that was also really cool. I was really, it was cool being around my dad.
Shit.
My dad passed away in '99, so he was 51 years old. These early head injuries were the end of his career and the end of his life. So it's also like a song.
What happened?
From hockey?
From hockey, it was CTE induced, and he ended up taking his own life. So
sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, and it totally hits me
every
time I see like a receiver go across the middle or something, and I hear the announcer like say, "Oh, he took a little shot," and I'm just like, "Oh no, he took more than a shot." I see Tua doing that stuff with his hands, and I'm like, man, I gotta call my therapist. Like,
Man, he got hit so hard he learned sign language.
That is viscerally funny for me.
Hey, I've had like 13 concussions. I can't say shit.
No, it's my dad did. He was also like, there's people that were like 6 or 7 concussions, and that's why my dad basically had like one big bad head injury that ruined it all, and it was because he wasn't wearing a helmet, and he was concussed and almost died and had a miraculous recovery. And
was this an earlier injury from earlier in his career when maybe head equipment wasn't nearly as?
Oh no, he was one of the guys that didn't wear a helmet later on too.
Oh, okay. So he retired in '83.
Yeah, and a lot of people told me afterwards, they'd be like, "Well, I started wearing a helmet because of your dad, man." That story was just like, so he was like kind of one of the points where people were like, you know what, maybe I will put this helmet on, like because it's grandfathered in, just like now they have with the visors in hockey. You can optional the visor, but now everybody coming into the league has to have a visor. Yeah. But I think there's like 9 guys left in the NHL that still don't have a visor because it's like the old school mentality, which is always good. I always respect that, and I respect like the physical part of the game and everything coming from my background and my perspective and what I've taken it, what I've learned from all that stuff. But I also know that like some of this stuff is not sustainable. Like football as we know it is not sustainable, and people are complaining about you can't even hit him anyway. You're not going to be able to hit him at all because it's not sustainable because of what we just know from like it takes 20 to 30 years for us to get the actual information.
Let me ask you this. Do you think your dad, knowing all that information, do you think it would have stopped him at all from pursuing that passion?
Not at all. And he also wouldn't have worn a helmet. He didn't wear a helmet because he's like, the sweat gets in my eyes. It wasn't anything about like saving his life or it wasn't also how he looked. It was just like a functional thing. Like it didn't help his game. So he's like, I'm not going to stay in the NHL if I wear this helmet.
I know as a kid, as a kid of that father, that's got to be rough, like losing him in that way for that reason. But doesn't that kind of speak to the point of like if people know the risks that they're involved in, shouldn't they be allowed to take them? Or do you disagree with that?
I agree with that, and there's also like the trade-off back then wasn't millions of dollars. You know, it's like they're very low pay. Like it wasn't
$50,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that's still $50,000 back then. That was like $100,000 now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally worth losing my father.
But no, I think that's it's just like how I am totally into football and hockey. I'm not in.
Yeah.
If you think if like that was my background, maybe I get into baseball. Like there's only collisions at home plate or something. But no, I'm into those physical sports, and that's the part. I don't know. I also feel like I can be. I can have a voice or an influence on that sort of stuff, just like anybody can, just like any fan can. Like when you see something and that's why I say, I mean, I think hockey, you can move forward and you can go without the fighting. You can take out the physical aspect of the game, and it can still be a game that you can play. I don't know if you can do that with football.
I don't know if it'll be a game that you can watch, though.
Can I show you another professional athlete?
They haven't worried about that so far. So.
Can I show you one more professional athlete? And I'd like to get your opinion on the risk versus reward of a situation.
Yes.
This is I've had this queued up for a while, and I've been waiting for an opportunity. I feel like this is
a good
ultimate the risk versus reward. This guy is a real athlete, a champion of his sport, if you will. Badland Chugs is his name.
Chugs.
He's got all these Mountain Dews set up in front of him, and he's gonna pour these inside of a Thor hammer.
It's time to harness all the electricity out of these Mountain Dew voltages.
You know why you can't see his feet in the video?
Because they're gone.
Because he doesn't have them.
Put them all into Thor's.
Patrice Mobiles.
All right, let's get right to it.
No toenails.
I said Patrice Mobiles.
Mobiles. Oh,
He's been doing this for years. This man he's a warrior of his sport, I would argue.
I mean, I guess we're gonna call baseball a sport.
So
then this gets to be a sport
is that
too.
5 bottles right there?
That's 5 bottles that he's poured into a fucking. Let me go back. Actually, hold on. Let me go back to where he fills it up.
Oh yes, same as it ever was.
Same as it. Oh, he knows.
Let's get it in there.
It's like a flute of champagne. He's like, oh, this is New Year's Eve. Don't let it bubble too much.
Bop.
All right, he gets it all filled up, all 5 bottles, and then he goes for the championship right here.
Yeah, but who is he like? He put his whole mouth around it. Oh, dude.
Man, looks like Phil was having a rough day.
Oh man.
This is how Phil Pointer starts every set.
Quit roasting my boy.
This is why Phil. No, this is why Phil sweats so much. It's
all hyped up on caffeine.
This is so.
This is
That's Phil with his weed
unpleasant
pen
to watch.
before his set.
For real.
That's the only analogy I would ever make.
Is anyone else not? This is wildly unpleasant to watch.
The amount of air that he's pushing into that Thor hammer, like he's taking all that in his nose, and it's going. He's
He's a warrior, just like your dad was.
a warrior.
Probably because he doesn't.
Probably signs Bible verses on his autograph, just like my dad did.
I'm gonna say he probably doesn't make past 51 either.
Did you notice he spelled completion?
Wait, man.
Hold on, wait. I gotta. He did.
That's so he doesn't get flagged by the censors.
No, that's diabetic
You gotta
retinopathy.
say completion's a bad word now. We gotta leave it out. It's like sexual. I gotta put egg in my seg.
Well, I think it's like now you can't say like sexual assault. You have to or like it's S and
Easy.
R now on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you get flagged. Like they've
Yeah.
got like audio AI now.
Why do you know
You gotta
so
have a
much about what
consultant whenever you're putting up videos. You're like, what are the? Here are the words. What do I do? And you gotta ask the person, and that's their job. They just know which words you can say on which to put in the captions.
It's
And you're
fucking
like,
weird.
I gotta change my captions.
It's fucking weird.
So what do you feel about this athlete right here? This ultimate chug warrior, if you will.
Anybody wearing a derby is not an athlete.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't know. That was my first.
You don't think he's a champion?
man.
He's a champion. That was impressive. I was more impressed with the amount of air he was putting out than the intake of liquid.
He's a
which
real monster.
is a very vivid description.
All of his comments, like if you scroll through them, they're always like, the atmosphere this guy gives off just radiates such a strong positive attitude. They're all just encouraging him to say. They're all just saying nice things about this man killing
It's
himself.
other really fat people
Don't play it.
with nothing better to do.
I was just gonna say that I get where those people are coming from before you read that, because like look at that face, man. That is a genuine smile. That is the most pure smile I have seen in a long time. The squint in the eyes, everything, the way his upper lip is pursed.
I mean, if you're not gonna get pussy anyways, you might as well 5 fucking.
Dude, he's
Mountain
got
He
Dew.
grew
pussy.
like
Look at
3
the
new pussies
property
drinking
he
that.
is filming on. That
one
is
here,
a dual
one here.
partnership property.
I mean, to me, it's just so sad because I was like, how long has he been doing this? For a year? He was like Nikado Avocado. He's got to be skinny before this. He was vegan. No,
Oh, like he got fat over his YouTube career?
Nope, he's been fat from the beginning. He started
Oh, yeah?
7 years ago. I'm like, this isn't a sustainable fucking video that you're doing over
He
and
just
over
chugged
again.
a fucking Mjolnir's
It's like
worth of fucking
It's like the
voltage.
dude that go the food guys that go to the place. They're like, oh, man versus food. He didn't last 7 seasons.
Yeah, that
that's
guy-
where he like teetered out. They're
Adam,
like, oh,
Adam
right.
Richmond is who you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean they had to replace him with like a new young thin guy, and they're like, hey, this guy's gonna eat shit.
That guy's fat now, by the way.
He's
the best part.
By the way,
We guessed.
science does work.
We pay you. We don't pay for a gym membership. That was in your contract.
Yeah. I just wanted to show other high-level athletes. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, man. You're fine. I like his. I truly do like his.
I do not. That was unpleasant to watch, and I don't.
So
I just hate that they're encouraging him to kill himself in all the comments, so he keeps doing it. He keeps making ad revenue because dummies like me keep watching it. 1.4 million views, so he's getting a little fat check from that. And then, like, you know, he's gonna die at 60 years old doing.
But
this
he'll
dumb
die
shit.
happy.
I guess
That's
maybe.
what matters. I don't think that smiles.
He's gonna diet. He's gonna diet Mountain Dew. It's gonna be a new second
he's-
wave of like, all right, let's chug diet Mountain Dew.
What if he does exactly that? Like 5-6 years, he does start dieting. Like
There's
starts,
no
like,
possible way.
Slimming down. Yeah, it's like losing weight now. That's his whole new video trend. It's no longer food
I'm
related.
gonna fill this Thor hammer with Slim Fast.
with protein shake.
Slim Fast, from 1985, it's coming back.
We'll
Dude,
fill
he's
this
Right
Thor
after we
hammer
get to
with
the new
carrot
tab.
juice.
Sponsored by Jenny Craig.
What was the craziest? Your dad being like wild. He's got to be in a wildly aggressive dad at some point. I'm sure not all the time. But did you ever have a moment of like your dad did the hockey shit, but in real life, like, oh no, Dad, it's not hockey time right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, there was.
He
There
didn't
was
say yeah. He said oh yeah.
oh yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Concussion, but
I have not.
yeah, it's when Will Smith discovered CTE in 2005 or whatever.
And he
But-
shared with Chris Rock.
There's some scenes in that movie where like the guy flips out and like is throwing stuff around in front of his kids and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, and I'm like, oh, yep, that's it, that's right on. That is like that's how it goes. So
Was it like Raging Bull with the fucking oh my steak's well done, and he flips the table over and he's beating the shit out of his? Was it like that level of crazy?
never harmed anybody out, like never hit any of my sisters or my mom or anything like that, so no physical harm, which is good. But he would definitely take it out on either a queen size bed or a couple chairs that he's throwing through windows and stuff. So yeah, very violent, reckless outbursts that were seen in our house as like, it happened again and it's from the accident, and we'd have like little keywords that would like let us like accept that this is like normal mental health behavior, but it's not.
I
Yeah.
can tell this is very not fun to talk about for you.
No, it's great. This is excellent. This is so good. I really do. I don't talk about it enough, and in this forum is the perfect spot to do it because it is. It's true and it's out there and it's something that is that I've been getting into a little bit more with friends and therapists and people close to me, and like trying to unlock this, because if you watch my stand-up, there's so much of my mom that I joke about and talk about, and then there's like this void of my dad that's like it's like it is scary for me to talk about. So like you're reading my body language correctly.
Well, thank you for feeling comfortable enough to speak about.
He's like, no one's gonna hear this.
I was also like,
I didn't feel that, but I feel like everybody's gonna hear this. That's how I feel right now.
I was gonna be like, how did you get into stand-up comedy? But how did you not get into stand-up comedy? You told me we've been on the mics for 24 minutes, and I'm like, there's no way he doesn't become a stand-up comedian with this life.
Oh my gosh. And honestly, a big fear of mine was being like the hockey player's kid and like being like that stigma that can go. And I remember I was in St. Louis.
We're not Canadian. We have no idea what the
exactly. I told you
hockey kids are.
This is a hockey desert right here in Cincinnati. But no, my first time going up in St. Louis, it was the open mic. I'd gone to the open mic probably a month before. I watched all the open. I saw where they sat. They sat in a different part of the room. I was like, they all sit over there. Those are all the comics. I'm gonna go talk to some of them after. I talked to some of them afterwards. Some of them were nice. Some of them were shitty. You know, like just how it goes anywhere. And I was really into it. Really like learned about like what stand-up comedy, like what you're supposed to do and how you. And then I remember when I first showed up, I was like, all right, I don't want to like. I kind of had this idea, like, I don't want anybody to know this. And one guy came up to me, and he was a guy, his name's Kevin Patterson. He's from St. Louis. And he was like, are you Ed Kia's son? And I was like, yeah, can you not tell anybody that, please? Because I'm just trying to keep this. And he goes, yeah, I won't say a word. And I swear to God, for the next 2 years, nobody knew anything. That guy never said anything, and it never came out.
What a solid guy.
And that he was such a solid guy. And then later, someone brought it up in front of someone else, and then it like, kind of like the manager was like, you're that guy's kid. I didn't know that. I'm a big Blues fan, you know, like, so it kind of, it was what I expected to happen. Like when I first started doing stand up. So I luckily was like a little bit in and already in the scene and already was like
little established
and seen as a comedian and not just some guy that's just trying to, you know, like parlay his dad's whatever into this or whatever. So
hang around, scream into a mic, and then disappear.
yeah.
Where's the move from Canada to like the States happen?
It's kind of like everybody in the States always just views me as Canadian and just like makes fun of me as a Canadian, but I'm American. I grew up here. I went to school here. I went back and forth to Canada a lot growing up.
But your skin's different.
No, it's way more buttery. There's more of a syrup.
Yeah, you have a syrupy smell.
Syrup than sweat. That's what we see when you're perspiring, persyruping. But honestly, it would just be like Americans make fun of me for being Canadian, and then I'm like telling them like I'm not really Canadian, but I do have a little bit of the accent. I say out about sorry instead of sorry, you know, like, so I have certain key elements in my accent that
How
have
old
kind
were
of
you?
stuck.
Certain key
elements. No, but I just go up there from when I was 1 year old till I was 18. I was up there probably like, you know, 40% of the time or something. So just growing up, I was up in Canada quite a bit. I have a lot of friends up in Canada. I have a lot of all my family's up in Canada.
But you're not Canadian.
Yeah. But I live here.
I'm kidding.
No,
Luke, you dumb bitch. No, get his ass. Get his ass, Gabe.
I have two sisters that
Fuck
live in
Luke,
St.
right?
Louis and one sister that lives up in Canada. And then I have 56 cousins on my dad's side. They're all Canadian. And probably 13 on my mom's side are all Canadian. So all my family's Canadian. Yeah.
Large family.
Thanks for that, Luke.
Catholic. That's what they say. Oh, yeah, Catholic.
Gross.
What country's that?
Irish Catholic?
Dutch.
Canadian Catholic.
Dutch? Oh,
Dutch
Dutch.
Catholic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just saw your
Dutch.
fucking Wikipedia pictures.
That you just made up. Dude, I did all that shit in Photoshop. Zach Schonkweiler did all that for me. He made my dad a hockey player. It's easy. You want to do it? $250. He can do it. Call him.
How sick would it be if like Kanye was actually sick in the hospital right now and Trudeau was actually playing Kanye in blackface, like pretending to say all the
I was just gonna ask, like, what's your viewpoint on the Jewish media?
Great
That
question,
just
Luke.
had me thinking. What did your dad think about the Jews owning everything?
the banks and
That's been like, it's so funny that's been like a baseline hacky premise forever, or even like a thing that people say. It's like,
well, he's a stupid person.
well, you
that's
watch the
fucking-
roast and you would think like Jeff Ross's every other joke is like that, you know,
Yeah.
like, but he goes out and says, but what he's doing is more. What he's doing is so there are these people that go out there in the provocateurs and they're trying to create the I mean, they're not talented anymore. They can't pump out another record that's going to be good.
No.
So what they do is they just say something crazy and they get in the news that way. So that's what he's doing, is he's trying to, anybody that's trying to get canceled or getting canceled is just trying to gain a new demographic to grasp onto that last little bit of fame. But it doesn't really make sense with Kanye because he had like 200 million in the bank with Adidas.
Yeah.
And he was like pushing it like they
dropped him.
They ain't gonna drop me. His thing was like he'd go on podcasts and be like, they ain't dropping me. And it's like,
And then they dropped him.
dude, it's like Kurt Metzger got in trouble with Amy Schumer back in the day and he was like, Amy's not gonna fire me. And then Amy had to go on fucking Charlie Rose and fire Kurt Metzger and throw him under the bus. And then Charlie Rose goes and gets Me Too'd. And I was like, that's a good, there's a good circle of, that's what Kurt Metzger was fighting
It's a
against. Like this idea that we could
circle.
just like nail somebody and like cancel them because of something that may or may not have happened, you know? Like that's what that's what I felt from my perspective. I was like, he doesn't have any stake in this. He's not like trying to like be like, I want to go out and have sex with any woman I want. He had a girlfriend. He was like committed. He was like, it wasn't about that. It was like, this is a bigger problem of like what can come in the future. And that's real and that's now and it's happening in front of us. And
I think what Gabe's trying to say is that's a perfect allegory for what the Jews are doing. I think
that's a good way to make it just like, well, that's funny now.
Just
instead of being
dismiss everything you
serious.
said.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's how dismiss everything I said because none of it made sense.
I'm not trying to dismiss it. I
there's
agree with
no-
what you're saying. You're making great points. I wanted to interject a little bit of funny, but the Kanye thing.
But there's no end to it, you know. Like there's never going to be an end to that. There's
Yeah.
never going to be an end to people wanting to cancel people because it's powerful. It makes them feel powerful.
Yeah.
You know. But it also it doesn't take away from the people that have truly done horrible things that truthfully like people need to victims. Who there's plenty of people out there that are victims that are scared to come out, and so it's a hard
and
hard
I'm sorry,
thing.
Susan, Barbara.
Just start naming. That's what this podcast is dedicated to. That girl that I pressured in high school. It was cool back then, I guess.
He's like, look, it was all just called the roofie game. I didn't know it was bad.
I mean, seriously, I used to do a joke about putting.
No, but seriously, I raped those 3
But
girls.
seriously, I did a joke about putting. I had a joke about how I would take a little white pill and I would put it in a girl's drink, and she'd be like, "Oh my god, what? Are you trying to roofie my drink?" And I go, "No, that's birth control. Now drink up. Let's see if it works." And you think about that joke now, you could never do that joke. I should have never done it back then either. Like I look back at myself and I'm like, oh, gross. What was I doing? But I was just, what I thought at the time was like, oh, it's a simple switcheroo.
Yeah.
You know?
With
Like,
the Kanye thing, though, I think people are focused on the wrong point of that. It's like, this man's losing his marbles. He's rich as fuck. He only is surrounded by yes men that are directly. He's a golden goose. This man is laying golden eggs for everybody that's around him. Yeah. If anybody tells him no, that's a problem for their money. They can't tell him no. They can't tell him, hey, man, I think you're manic. They're going to get fired. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to accept that from people. He's only going to accept yes men. And then he's going out there like, no, I'm totally not manic. These are actually my thoughts. Fuck the Jew, or whatever he's saying. Whatever crazy shit that he's saying on Lex Friedman's podcast. And black people are Jewish. All this insane shit. And it's like, everybody's focusing on what he's saying instead of like his mental welfare. And I'm like, I think that he's kind of cracking at the seams right now. I think that he's losing his mind and everybody's focused on the wrong part of the entire thing, where it's like,
but I think it's also
he's definitely
trying to
dangerous with his ideas, but it's
those
like,
people are also trying to separate mental illness from like actual bigotry and actual racism because then people use that as a scapegoat when what was it? Roseanne Barr like tweeted something at one of Obama's.
I was on
advisors.
Adderall and I had a beer.
Oh my god! I was like, and I remember doing a joke at the time. I was like, I read the warning on the bottle. It said, "We'll make racist comments towards Obama cabinet appointees." Like it's so like it's when you put it that way, it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of messed up. But when you're also simmering in a world of QAnon or something, which I have parents. My mom is like, she's way gone. She's not too far gone, but she's way gone. And it's hard to kind of connect with her sometimes. And you see some of the things coming out of her. I remember one time her Facebook was just like putting out this. And I was like, Mom, you got to stop. Everybody can see this stuff.
Yeah.
And she's probably looking at mine and like, son, you got to stop.
I know exactly what you mean.
I didn't know I raised a bitch.
I just recently found out some months ago that my dad is now become a moon landing denier.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, did he start Joe Rogan's podcast from the beginning?
He's hardcore.
Is that how that happened?
He's so hardcore against it.
I will say I've noticed.
Give him 40 more podcast episodes, then he'll be back on the right page.
I noticed a whole bunch of like podcasts. They don't have scientists on anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think.
Thank God.
I think it just
They're
became.
fucking nerds.
Thank fucking
dude.
God, I'd never listen.
They're fucking boring nerds.
I think it just became not fun to have somebody like, yeah, no, that's dumb, and here's why, and they give a very simple explanation.
Well, I mean,
And
even
you're
when
like,
he has his people
but-
on his show, they're all just
Hold
like,
on. Wait, he was saying something. Tell him.
it doesn't matter.
No, but the scientists don't get the ratings, is what you're saying. Is they like don't do
Yeah,
it
yeah.
with like that sort of buzz that gets.
Well, no, like most of the time, the explanation is real simple, and it's just overlooked. And there's so many people now that, they'll watch a YouTube video where someone speaks somewhat confidently about any subject, and as soon as someone says, if you just listen to someone talk for 45 minutes and they make all of these points with no one going like, oh yeah, but here's a very simple explanation as to why 90% of that's wrong, and the other 10% of it is misconstrued data. And then, to me, those are the ones I tune in. I like those. But it's not a ratings grab to have somebody like, oh yeah, no, lizard people aren't real, and we did land on the moon, and
Dude, you have Herschel Walker with a badge on your podcast. Like, that's ratings gold.
oh god, what a fucking psychotic human being.
But
The
that's
thing-
just a perfect example of someone he's actually probably, what if he gets elected, he's getting elected, and that it's almost a dangerous precedent because he's getting elected with like just dumb stuff that went viral or something. And
Yeah.
it's like, if that happens, and I mean, oh my gosh, I'm not too concerned about it because, yeah, I mean, you shouldn't, it's like trying to run for Senate. Like these people like J.D. Vance, Dr. Oz,
Yeah.
Herschel Walker never have held public office, and now they're going to headline the fucking Apollo? Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you know how hard it is, how well you need to know how to work a crowd to,
Not even a
like,
little bit.
Were you out of
they
country for like the
don't
past
even
10 years?
know. Yeah, no, I've been watching it, and it wasn't good. It didn't work out well.
I'm sure those live shows won't last too long.
Yeah, no, those live shows they'll go south. But also, one of those three is going to get elected too, I believe. Yeah, I think J.D. Vance probably has the most likely chance, and that's sad to say because it's like we're in Ohio, and but the fact that it's even that the people they're in that spot is just insane to
Yeah.
think. But no, that's what have you been here for the last 10 years? It's like everybody should watch what Trump did and see that not only did he do a horrible job as president,
Yeah.
he messed up the whole political structure in this country so much,
Yeah.
where we're going to see people not saying they didn't lose. This next election cycle, they're already preparing for it.
Yeah.
People are already ready to say that there was voter fraud, when if you look at any voter fraud, come at me with any voter fraud, and I will give you something you can Google, and it's a Republican that voted twice for their dead mother, or someone that was like in another state. Mark Meadows was like registered in 2 states. There's so many names that you can just throw down, and then all the other side has to come up with is some sort of weird conspiracy theory about cell phones and drop boxes and stuff.
Now you're right, but have you considered that politics are gay?
Did you?
Can we shift gears
We
from
don't
the
know
politics?
the real culprit
Did you?
here.
Did you hear
You,
what?
you went to the bathroom and I took over.
Did you hear what they did? What they were doing in Florida with voter fraud?
Oh no, I know, and they're doing it pretty public.
Dude, it's so heartbreaking, man.
And it's coming. It's going to come back. So me, as a convicted felon, also got arrested in high school or
But you better
college.
be worried, brother.
Yeah, no, I
What's
can
your
vote
felony?
in Ohio.
Tell me about your felony.
Felony was distribution of a controlled substance in
Was
a
it
school
weed?
zone. It was coke and weed. It was a line of coke. I gave the guy a bump, and he gave me $20. And one of my fraternity brothers was like, dude, that's kind of sketchy that he gave you $20. And I was like, no, that's my bro, man. I know him. And he ended up arresting me. So that guy, Nick Cruz, if you're out there listening to this podcast, you were right. And you knew that guy was an undercover agent the whole time. So
He's like my friend Derek McNaughton-Copperson.
yeah, McNaughton-Copperson. Oh God, no! So I have a good my closer in my comedy set is about the guy that busted me. His name is Ryan O'Reilly. He's from O'Reilly Auto Parts, and he's not from there. His parents.
That's not a country.
It's it's a country now.
Brian, hail from O'Reilly.
But his parents own it. His parents were like the O'Reilly people, so they were like rich, and he just like when he got arrested, those O'Reilly Jews, they always do it. They changed their name. They put an O on the
There's
beginning.
nothing worse than an Irish Jew.
They used to be
Lloyd.
Riley Steins.
Lloyd, always saying things that we all agree with. Keep going.
Oh God damn.
Your point though about
So
the
I should
felony,
not say this on. Honestly, a lawyer told me that I should not do the joke on. I shouldn't put the joke on social media. I shouldn't put it on YouTube. I shouldn't put it out there. I shouldn't talk about it on podcasts about the O'Reilly Auto Parts people because they have nothing to do with Ryan O'Reilly. He is totally separate. He's just related to the people that created the company. That's all.
Just related.
Just related. Just through relation. He does not work for O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yeah, he doesn't even know those people.
No.
But you
You were
think
making
you're
a-
gonna get a warrant though because of that warrant?
No, but I could
Or
get a
felony?
cease and desist, or I could get a
Defamation.
Defamation, just lawsuits coming after me, and they would just they wouldn't really have any basis or merit, but they could bleed me dry by just throwing money at the situation and getting me to shut up about it.
Yeah.
So basically, a lawyer told me that he was like, "You better be on the Tonight Show if you want to do that joke." He's like, "You better be getting something."
Lawyer up.
He's like, "You better be getting something in return," and then. I've done stuff on public forums with my record
dudes.
label and with stuff, and my record label was like, "Yeah, we're gonna leave it off." And yeah, like people are like they talk to their lawyers and they know that it's not a good idea. What a lawyer told me way back in the day, he was like, "Just do it person to person, club to club."
You know how
Okay.
stand-up works.
How stand-up works. he basically was like, fuck this Instagram, put your shit up there. As soon as you write a joke in an open mic, you put it up. I was like, wow, you're telling me the future of stand-up. This is how I'm going to get better, is by not putting my
Did
stuff
Buddy
on
Hackett have a
Instagram.
Twitter?
He's a fucking maniac.
No, I think it's good to put your stuff on Instagram, but it's hard to. So this is even deeper than what I was talking
did you
about.
finish your point though about
I
why
did.
you brought up the felony? Like, what was the connection?
Voting in Ohio.
Being able to vote. I'm able to vote.
Uh,
I was able to vote in Missouri. I would not be able to vote if I went down to Florida right now because of DeSantis' edict or whatever, the law that he put through. And
Can't
the
say
law,
gay, and I mean, if you've listened to Gabe's act,
So they were.
Dude, I
gonna-
love how they're like, whoa. I work as a bartender at like a very nice bar, and we have all these like 50, 60, 70-year-old dudes coming in there ordering like their Blantons with a big cube, and they're like, let me talk about how woke is killing America. And I was like, Jesus, you're talking about something that was invented 5 years ago. Like some fucking guy from Community made a rap song about woke, and now it's like the biggest buzzword. It's like, it used to be politically correct, but now it's woke, And before that, it was racist, and it just goes.
He's like,
Can I-
before that, it was
trickle down.
fun.
can I change gears a little bit? I'm curious about this. Size-wise, is you as a physical person, because Lloyd's had a lot of these stories just coming out of being a tall guy, a stout fella looking like somebody that can handle his business in a bar or whatever. Have you come across a lot of people that bring shit to you because you're that guy to challenge? I know that's happened to Lloyd a bunch. I'm curious if this has happened to you.
The little guy in the bar trying to fight the big guy in the bar.
Yeah, little
I mean, if I'm in the
Napoleons.
bar, if I'm in the comedy club, I'm in the mix of the person getting kicked out, which as the comedian, advice to any comedian out there, don't get involved in any of that shit. It's not smart. Don't get involved. The manager doesn't
Can you
want
look him in the
you.
eyes and say that one more time?
You want
I am not a comedian.
Yeah, well, you want the door. You're sorry. So you're a big guy and you confront people sometimes at
go.
like bars and stuff. I've been in the same situation. I've been at when you're the person on stage, you cannot be going and telling the audience members to shut the fuck up. That's the key. Is like you have to have a separation between. There's got to be a door guy there.
Yeah, Lloyd.
That's not going on stage, and I can't be because whenever it's escalated, it's always because I was on stage and I got involved, and it makes them get more defensive and more angry about if they feel like now the comedian's coming after me off stage back here. Like it's not a good thing. So I've learned to just back away from those situations.
But you don't have like a fist fight situation happen where people are like drunk guys are trying to challenge you to prove their manhood. One of those. Like I know that happens to Lloyd every once and again where he's just the big guy at the bar and it's like I'm gonna prove myself by fighting this guy, and it's like
no,
okay,
thankfully
fella.
I'm not that big. I'm like or have that good of a beard.
I'm gonna say I think
beard.
I think it's just his energy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it might just be the way I am.
Or
like
the
I'm
places they hang out.
Yeah, it
True,
could be
yeah, I
that
do.
too.
Yeah.
He's hanging out with like 60-year-olds with giant ice cubes. I'm
What's the most dog shit place to do comedy in the States? What's the worst place that you've ever? What's the worst experience that you've had doing comedy?
Upper Peninsula, Michigan.
Let's go, dude.
That's the worst.
Can I get a story?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I started out with a joke where I was like, I had a joke about running red lights and how they take your picture and like it send you a photo in the mail. And I like, it's fun. You get a photo in the mail. I had this dumb joke about, and I started out with it. I was like, I ran a red light and people were like, some dude in the front row was like, we don't have stoplights here. And I just was like, do you have imaginations?
hey,
Which I thought was like the best, like
No, that rules. That's good.
that rules on a podcast.
Yeah.
But in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, at the beginning of a 30-minute set, you're not going to tell anything funny after that. So
we
that's
don't
what
have stoplights here. You better not have no jokes about teeth.
But that's also like it's a thing about comedy is like when you're just set for that amount of time. You have to get them on your side, and your opener is it's very important. It's a big deal, and sometimes when it goes totally awry, you.
Do you have a story of the? I always love the ones with Patrice where he would intentionally do it, where he'd bury himself and then he'd bring himself out of the fucking pit. I'm not asking if you would do something like that, but have you had one where it's like you've turned it around in a way where it's like, holy shit, I thought for sure I was going to bomb. Forget tonight, the rest of the weekend's going to be fucking terrible. Do you have some of those where you've just overcome that fucking like is it just a skill
Yes.
now?
No,
It's so
yeah,
simple
that's
for you now.
And but you say Patrice O'Neill, I say Brett Clausen.
Yeah.
He's a guy that was my dude back in St. Louis. He called me Corporate Gabe when I was starting out. He's like, you're so corporate, dude. You just want to do whatever you can to get booked. You're just doing whatever. And he'd always make fun of me so much about that. But he would always say that he was like, he's like, sometimes you just got to do something dumb up front and make them all hate you and then just try to get out of it. And he said it's like a perfect exercise because you're going to do it sometime when you're out there and you won't even realize that you needed to have this skill of getting out of it. And I've done it several times, and I always think of that same guy that told me that lesson. And that's very important in stand-up is to talk to other stand-ups, listen to podcasts, get that information about like things like that you will have to be prepared to do. And and that's why I think so.
He's like, and that's the story of how I had to fuck Roseanne. Just things you have to do in this business.
Things you have to do in this business. But no, that makes me think of times when it's totally happened, and it does happen, and And it happens on sets where you're like, I'm recording this for a special or something. There was,
oh fuck!
Oh, he was at my recording. I don't know if you were at both, but on Saturday I was doing a recording. Go bananas! And there was this lady up front.
Everyone was talking about her.
Oh
when
my
we got
gosh,
there.
she was so into the show. She was every joke. She was like, that's right. And it was just like, it wasn't something that you could be like, could you quiet down? Like it was just this over exuberant energy with every joke and I'm kind of like, in the back of my mind, all I'm thinking about is the special and this recording and all this stuff, and I'm not thinking about the moment and the actual idea that she's like there creating such a cool environment for everybody there that I didn't think about it until the second show. When I came up after the first show, I talked to the guys that were recording it, and I was like, "Hey, I think we got through. I think we survived. I think we're gonna." And they're like, "Thank God, there's a second show." And I was like, "Oh shit! I thought that was good. I thought she was great." And then we did the second show, and I could feel that energy wasn't there. Like it just didn't have that. And it's kind of like that one person that you think is kind of disturbing the whole show or messing everything up is kind of driving the energy for that whole show and making it. She made it really good, and that's what you can't really explain afterwards. You're like
you enjoyed it, but it was genuine, but you felt it could have been distracting to the recording of the special.
Yeah, and my thought process going through it was just plow through it. Like don't address it a bunch because that's going to be more distracting. So just plow through it and just
plow through her.
Rely on the material and think like, I've been working on this stuff for months to get to this point, And then when I got to the second show, I was like, oh man, we need Juicy back. She really made that joke pop. Like she made that blow up.
Let's go.
And she really did. She did.
The word everybody was using when we got there was rowdy. That was the word everyone kept
rowdy.
using.
She made the whole room rowdy, and it wasn't. And they were just kind of making it like, oh, she was rowdy, and I was like, no, she was just really into it.
Pull that mic up to your face, buddy.
She flashed. She flashed. Alex her titty. She pulled it down and she had her name tattooed on her titty. And
dude, how far down did she have to pull her shirt? I feel like she'd had to pull all the way to the belly button region just to get nipple. I feel like there's a lot of collar pull going before you get titty.
She was like, it used to be up here.
She's saying that the whole fucking 90 minutes that it took her to get that fucking collar down.
It's got every year like a date, like those kids that go up against they were like,
marks as they're growing, but in the opposite direction for how the titty's sagging.
So it started on my collarbone. Now it's a little belly button decoration.
Okay, she's pulling the titty out. You're finishing the
Schubert. Alex Schubert was opening up the show, and it was just it was so funny to watch his reaction because he's just
He's been on here a lot. We
love Alex.
He's amazing.
He's a delight. He's a delight to watch. Anybody?
I love seeing him try not to say autistic the entire time. He likes to card count in Vegas. I mean, Rain Man's a good movie.
He likes to tell me what train car that is.
He knows the whole train schedule by heart in every city that we go to. It's crazy. Let's go to the obverse of this coin. The best shows that you've done, the best opener, or the best comedians that you've worked with. Something that stands out to you like that.
I would say most recently I worked with David Spade up in Columbus, Ohio, and it was an amazing show. Like,
did he have a good set?
He had a great set.
Really?
He was also like worried about his set. Like he was like looking at his notes and like
love that.
Like he was like I remember him. There was like a table. He had a chair turned around and he was kneeling on it and he was like looking at his notes with the pen and tapping his head. And I was like, this is the coolest shit in the world. Like he's like worried about his set.
Real quick, I feel like I have to explain because Lloyd looked at me like I was an idiot when I said I love that. I love that because you would expect David Spade to just ride on his fame all the way through the set.
It's not that you said it, it's how you said it.
Okay, fair enough.
I love that.
I totally get how you would think that, but like as like a podcast nerd, I had listened to a podcast he was on with Tom Segura, and he explained about how he's, touring again, doing sets and stuff, and how he's like stressing out and asking all these like his generation of comics like tips on what to do and how to go about shows. He was talking about writing notes and everything in the podcast. You're like, oh, this is just banter. But like, no, he was actually back there like stressed, like
no, he's
writing
really,
his notes and everything.
I think it's good for stand-up comedy, and it also drives into the respect that stand-up comedy deserves. That like, even though you're a big name, I think the expectations for him, it's harder for him to do stand-up than it is for me. It's easy for me to go up in front of a crowd of David Spade's fans that are thousands of people, and I've been doing these jokes for 10 plus years, and I know where like the beats are and where it's going to work, and I am tuned in. I'm ready for my 15 minutes. That's all I have to do. That's so easy. I'm like throwing jokes out the window because I'm like, nope, not good enough. Yeah. But he's got, the whole thing to do. So the pressure it's immense.
But that was a big standout for you.
I'm sure he called Rob Schneider before this.
No, I mean, Rob Schneider's been doing stand up consistently.
Is that what
since
we're calling it?
I'm not gonna shit on Rob Schneider.
I am.
You are, but
he's been a complete cunt to multiple people I know, so I'm happy to shit on him.
I think he is. He's definitely he's made a turn in the last couple of years. That's not good. I'm not. But I think
Why did you fucking corner him into this position where he has to say something about this?
You're
Lloyd?
asking me that?
I like Jamie Lissow too.
I don't know why people are sad when their family dies. Why would you ask me that? What does it mean to bleed, Cody?
On that note, we're at the end of our free episode. Is there any way that we can continue another hour on our Patreon with you? Do you have the time for another hour?
Sure, yeah, I can do another hour. I've got to make a text message. But,
tremendous. Let's do the ad reads real quick. Did you want to finish that thought? What was the end of that story?
No, I just wanted to say that stand up is subjective. You can like and you cannot like anybody that you. But I do respect certain people, not because of the content that they bring forward, but because of because they've been doing it for this amount of time and they've been working the road. It's like I totally respect Bert Kreischer more for the way he like crushed the road and like worked comedy clubs to where he was like the marquee headliner at like these mid-level comedy clubs that are like great. And then he got to the point where he's like, now I can do theaters. And he got to that point and then COVID hit. And did you notice that everybody that was doing theaters from like Brian Regan to like Jerry Seinfeld were like doing comedy clubs again?
Yeah.
And I remember Bert Kreischer was like, I'm not going to fucking do comedy clubs again. He's like, I'm going to do drive-ins or something. Like he did something different. But it was so like he had worked so hard to get there and he earned that. And now his trajectory is just like it's skyrocketing. But he's also surrounding
just slightly below wherever Tom Segura's is.
And
it'll stay there.
He is such a good person to all those other people around him. Like, look at the people that he's bringing as openers. It's like other huge headliners that he's bringing. So he's putting himself in a great position. And I respect Tom Segura. I respect Bert Kreischer, and I think they both should be playing theaters.
We respect you, Gabe Kia. Can you tell us about some of your dates and where we can follow you on social media before we do our ad reads, before we get into the Patreon?
Oh yeah, my dates. I don't have much coming up. I've got something in Oxford, Ohio on November 5th, and then I've got something, I think, in November 15th in Cincinnati at the Moorline Lager House that Billy DeVore and Chris Weir and I are doing a show together there. Yeah. So yeah, some local guys, buddies. And then I'm going to be in Tulsa and Wichita, Kansas in the new year. And I don't have it much other than that.
I think we have a Wichita fan. Get out there and check it out.
Go Wichita.
That's Kia, K-E-A. K-E-A.
Social media stuff?
Social media is all Gabe Kia. Instagram is at Abe Lincoln T-shirt, and that's my Instagram. I'm going to start putting some more reels on. I just got an Adobe, so I'm going to try and do some of this, putting my jokes on Instagram, which I'm totally philosophically against, but I'm a whore, and I'll do whatever I can to get booked.
Thank you for doing this. We got a whole another hour coming at you. If you want to check that hour out, go to patreon.com/thebastardsermon. $5 a month unlocks all the bonus content. You get the free episode, this one that you're listening to right now on Sunday. You get that one on Saturday, and the bonus episodes come out at the same time on Saturday every single week. We've got Luke's got a big... He just pitched us an idea. That's going to be extra bonus content for us. We've got Bastard LLCs, which I actually have one that I'm about to set up with everybody, with Paul and Mansfield. I haven't pitched it to fucking Lloyd and Luke yet, but it's happening. We're going to do that. It's definitely happening. It's going to be really good. You're going to love it. Yeah, this is not a great way to sell our podcast, boys. Go and check that shit out.
Shitting on you is always a good way.
Scarlett hasn't paid us, so don't read that read. Go ahead.
Which one should I do? Banging? Or what?
Bobby Bronson runs the Decorated Body down in the historic Pendleton district of OTR. If you want to go get a tattoo by Bobby Bronson, go down to the Decorated Body. You can check out their art at the Decorated Body on Instagram, or Bobby's art specifically at BG Bronson. He's always doing cool anime style tattoos, and he supports the podcast, and we support him. Love you, buddy. Go and check him out. Do you like banging, Lloyd?
I do. Do you like snacks?
I do.
We are sponsored by banginsnacks.net.
Jesus, that couldn't have been more ham-handed if we tried.
It's the same thing. Go check out banginsnacks.net. Banginsnacks.net has the greatest fucking exotic snacks in the game, and they've got it for the most affordable prices. You can't beat the prices for these exotic snacks from Russia, Korea, Japan, Norway, Belgium, China, all of it. You can't beat the prices
the squid chips rule
that Bang & Snacks has to offer compared to anywhere else, and that includes Jungle Jim's Mark Borson.
Can you read off a couple of the snack types that they have? Because, man, they've got some good-ass treats that you can get.
Sure, here's just a couple of brands that they hold. They've got Lay's, they hold Skittles, Bugles, Pringles, Doritos, Fanta, and Cheetos brands.
Those are the brands, but they have just the ones that are available in other countries. So you'll get, like, squid chips from Lay's, or you'll get fucking avocado Pringles.
Mexican chicken tomato flavor from China.
And it all fucking slaps. It's so good.
Agreed. And they still have them right here at the top of the list for $6. I might order me some here soon. The sponge, flour, and fruit Skittles from
those
Japan.
things are fucking delicious.
Yeah, they were wildly delicious. It was weird. It kind of tastes like you were chewing on an air freshener, but it was edible and good. Not toxic. It was weird. So check out.
Tastes like you're chewing on the smell of an air freshener.
Yes. Check out banginsnacks.net and use promo code BASTARD or BASTARDS at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your order and free delivery to local Cincinnati orders.
The Bengals are gay.
Fuck you.
We like
the Bengals.
I tried to sync it up. It's just as bad as every other read.
Keep
going.
I have another podcast with a friend of the pod, Alex Schubert. Sweet baby Alex, who Gabe is well aware of and friends with, and we roast whatever team the Bengals are playing, as well as just talk comedy and sports and fun, and it's a good time. You don't really have to be a sports fan to listen to it, but
can I just say, you guys have like paid me to be a producer every once in a while, whenever I can do it, and it's so much fun to sit in and listen to you guys like try out your roast jokes in front of no audience, in front of just like a couple people that are all jaded people that aren't gonna laugh at shit. And to get a laugh in that room is like the hardest thing possible, I feel like. And there's still genuine laughs going on. I know you just did one with Glenn Childress. I'm sure that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He posted specifically about it. He's a fucking fantastic Cincinnati comedian.
He'll be on the show.
He's gonna be coming on in December on Bastard Sermon, but you gotta check out fucking Fuck You Like the Bengals. It's a great it's a great podcast to listen to, and I'm glad that I get to be a part of it. I also produce for Just the Clip. If you get a chance, check out Blake and Jeremy's podcast, Just the Clip. They're not doing so many clips anymore, but it's all the last one was pretty sad, just Blake talking about quitting comedy, Which, I mean, talk him out of quitting comedy. Fucking, if you listen to that episode, write him a nice message. I know people listening have seen him, or at least have heard us talk so much nice shit. Tell him not to quit comedy, because he needs to keep doing fucking comedy. The episodes that we recorded after that, though, are fucking bangers. We have great content coming out. In the next 3 weeks, you're going to have great episodes to listen to. Go and check out Just the Clip. And if you see Jeremy Johnson or Blake Hammond on a show, go and check that out. Big shout out to Jeremy Johnson for crushing, for opening and hosting for fucking Kurt Metzger this weekend. What a blast that was. What a good ass time that I had hanging out with
What a great
Metzger.
lineup, too. To have
Anthony
two
DeVito.
headliners, basically.
Yeah.
And
DeVito
then
was
Jeremy Johnson, who's not a host, he should be a feature anyway. So that's an amazing set.
So good.
Also check out What You Into. I mean, this is the most recent episode. You can just skip altogether.
Come on, plug
it's
it.
dumb.
Plug
But
it, come
yeah,
on.
check it. Listen to What You Into. Usually Tank has really fun guests on that, like, you know, they talk about like collections and things they're into and stuff like that. He's a very good podcast host despite some of his choices and guests.
Me and my dude Paul Gonzalez just did a Predator franchise episode. It ran for 5 hours, so we split it into 2 episodes. It's actually, I don't want to toot my own horn. We did pretty good. I listened back to
you
it.
will not get that time back.
You'll have fun. You'll have fun.
That sounds awesome.
That shit was impressive as fuck. I can't close better than that.
noise.
That was sick, dude.
We're closing. Do the
I
noise
do
one more time.
impressions. I do some impressions.
Do the noise one more time. We're turning it off.